I moved to the US, undergoing all the major visa process. That's a big thing for any immigrant. If you are an immigrant, make sure that you are up and right and explain about your visa situation, because every 1 hour of delay in a visa paper signature, it's like you are waiting for another 10 years.
I will also encourage company to look at global policies with respect to individual, like from which country he or she is coming from.
Yes, definitely. And if you are a manager, if you are in that capacity, if a paper comes to you for signature, please invest the time to sign.
How do you see now the acceptability for female leaders?
I asked in one of the schools asking, hey, I'm going to give you a story. There is a CEO that takes a car, Uber from airport to a hotel, and the hotel receptionist is greeting the CEO with a kind word. So can you imagine these persons? All the kids said the CEO is a man, the Uber driver is a man, and the hotel receptionist who talks kind is a female. That was the picture that ran in their mind.
Yes.
I said, why can't it be a CEO, a female CEO, and a female Uber driver, and a male receptionist?
This is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show, where we are going to invite industry leaders to talk about their journeys and also technologies of tomorrow, in an effort to break some of the biases that might have formed around this energy industry. Hello everyone, I hope you're happy and healthy. I'm Anand Jha and you are listening to the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show. This show is about the leaders who have made it big in this energy industry while breaking some of the biases around them. And today I'm happy because we will be joined by Aparna Subramanian, who is a seasoned engineering leader with 20 years of experience in the LNG, refining and petrochemical industry. Today, she's working as a process engineering manager at Matrix PDM Engineering and oversees global partnerships and drives operational excellence. Outside her technical role, she champions volunteership and mentoring through different leadership and mentorship programs. She's really passionate about dancing and successful engineer. So with that, let's deep dive into her inspiring journey. Welcome, Aparna. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Anand. Very excited to be here, and thank you for choosing me to be part of this exciting interview. I'm really excited and thrilled.
Definitely. And as I said, the introduction doesn't justify what you are doing. You are juggling a lot, like on the professional side, then the volunteership, and also you are passionate about dancing. So we'll talk about all those things. I'm looking forward to it. So without any further delay, if you can talk about a little bit more about yourself and how you have came that long way with starting your journey in India and then moving to US, and what helped you to grow as a person, professionally and personally.
Thank you, Anand. So I'm Aparna Subramanian for everyone that is watching. And I did my bachelor's in chemical engineering in southern part of India. And my first job was with Jacobs Engineering in Mumbai, India. So that was the very first job right out of school as a trainee engineer. That's how we call it in India instead of intern. That was my first job. So that interview I can never forget because it was all about what you learned in school about McCabe-Thiel method or how many trays in a distillation column, how you will calculate, and those kind of very theoretical questions that these days I don't think anyone would even think about asking all that. So that was very exciting, and to be part of such a big company and walking into that role as a trainee engineer, it's like different level of excitement to learn things, to make an impact in the career. So I was with Jacobs India for almost 7 to 8 years working on, because you are just starting your career. So people are like giving you different tasks because you are always up and ready to do things, right? So, okay,
Yes,
do a
right.
line list. I still remember my mentor said, line list, if you make it correct, the entire line list, then that is the way a process engineer should think about, right? From your operating conditions, design conditions, those kind of how you put your, when you look at a drawing and how you put your energy and interest towards what is happening, why this is designed like this, why it should be designed like this. So that is definitely an eye-opener for any process engineer entering into the industry. And so those days, it was like open cubicles we had in India. It's not any closed cubicles. Everyone can see everyone's computer. So there is no playing around. It's always like work, learning things. And in such a big populated country, you have to be always up and about to do things, right? You can't be lagging behind.
It's a very competitive environment.
Definitely. Because you are in such a big group and you need to be visible. It's just not coming in every day and doing your work and going out of the office. So especially for me, and I always like to grab any opportunities that was presented. If someone says, okay, go to help mechanical department because for vendor reviews, they need a process engineer that can also do this, then it's not your day-to-day a 9-hour job, but it's like something to learn about, right? So I never said no. That was the very first thing. I think as a professional, you need to always grab that opportunity when it is offered to you at the right time. And even if it is not offered to you, it's always like go and ask for it. Never keep quiet. It's always, yes, I want to do this. What I can do to get that opportunity. Hey, is there something that I can put some extra efforts? So that's how I started all this. And I was involved in a work share job with the US office in of Jacob Engineering. I was managing that effort of leading the job there, and then that opened up an opportunity when they had an opening for someone to grab that opportunity, traveling to the US and then taking that role. That's how I moved to the US, undergoing all the major visa process. That's a big thing for any immigrant. I know whoever is listening, either you are already going through the journey, or I'm sorry if you already lost in the journey, if you're lost in the journey, or if you did not win. I know COVID brought different changes and people had to go back to the home country. One thing I always say that if you are an immigrant, make sure that you are up and right and explain about your visa situation, because every 1 hour of delay in a visa paper signature, it's like you are waiting for another 10 years.
10 years.
That's
a very, very important point.
Yes, that is something whoever is not undergoing the visa process, they would not understand. Again, different countries have different visa styles, right? For example, a British citizen getting a US visa is completely different from some Indian citizen or a Chinese citizen getting a visa. It's like completely a different ball game. So after 10 to 12 years, I got my green card. My husband got my green card after 17 years. Even after going to school here, then you have various visa process. So that is something I always think companies on a bigger level, they need to understand every little delay impacts someone's living in this country.
Every visa process is different.
Yes.
So from company perspective, they should understand the person from India will have different requirements than any other country. So the point I'm making here, sometimes companies have a global policies, but that global policies does not help with some respective countries. So if that person is valuable, and I will also encourage company to look at global policies with respect to that individual, like from which country he or she is coming from.
Yes, definitely. And if you're a manager, if you're in that capacity, if a paper comes to you for signature, please invest the time to sign. Don't delay, because every hour delay is impacting their presence even in this country. Without a valid visa, it's not easy to stay in this country. So that is a big challenge. And companies, especially when immigrants come on a work permit visa, there are different types of visas like work permit or intercompany transfer and all that. So those kind of struggle always as an immigrant. You need to be educating the company if they are not aware, because we can blame them because they are not used to that system.
And I think that these kind of platforms like that we are using to talk about these things very openly, and also encouraging companies to think outside the box.
Exactly. And there are always limitations when you are on a work visa. Even if you move to different location of your same organization, there is a paperwork added to that, because you need to prove to the consulate, hey, this person is being sent on this assignment. That's why we are doing this. So those there are a lot of add-on layers to it. I understand many companies think that it's a time investment or a money investment to do all this paperwork. But if you really want to develop a talent and diverse workforce in your organization, these things are very important, and we need to be very up and about in all this.
Just one thing I want to add, like in previous episodes, we talk about how this oil and gas industry is very global. And there's always a need of good talent.
Yes.
But these kind of hurdles are stopping the flow of people. Yes, there are some visa rules that need to be followed. There are some rules that need to be followed. But at the same time, if you want to have a good talent coming from different part of the world and working on your projects, then we all have to come together to think about this process.
Yeah, especially HRs, whoever watching. I know in your application you ask, do you need sponsorship? The moment someone clicks yes, then your application is rejected.
You're out.
Because, you're out. So I always made sure that I contacted someone directly saying, hey, although I say I need sponsorship, that also means it's a transfer of already an existing paper.
Yes, right.
It's not going to be the same effort
Like
as like
for you,
doing a
it's
new
not a
paper.
it's not a big trouble. Like
Exactly.
I'm not going to consume your time.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So those kind of stuff, I think it needs more awareness in the industry, especially in oil and gas, because we are still treated as a traditional industry and we need more diverse workforce. That is one thing I really want to say, that if there is a talent, if there is a resume, please just don't ignore just because they need some sponsorship. So whoever watching this, please understand that that's the struggle behind that. Okay, fortunately, I went past all the struggle and I'm in a good position today. But
Yes.
when someone sends me resume, and I always ask, hey, my company is sponsoring or no, but I never say what the deal with and all that, but at least look at the resume, then talk to your organization on what can be done. Is there a way that we can interview and see whether this person is fit? So that's something really I would like everyone to understand this process. And for people, for all engineers, I know we are very analytical in nature. Many engineers are not too verbal. Networking is an important element in our industry. The more you network, see, now I know Anand because I have seen him in Gastech, I have seen him in some LNG forums and all that. So networking is the key. So a lot of jobs, just submitting resumes won't fetch you anywhere. You need to be up and about in the industry, being visible, explaining your talents, and networking in forums. And we have now a lot of platforms like LinkedIn, and people have this podcast and all other websites where you can contribute your both technical and leadership skills, where people see you in the industry. If someone thinks about something, I know this person who can do this. So those kind of stuff, and your rapport with the client, and giving that value of engineering to the client and your customers, that helps a lot in this industry.
And I fully agree. Like it's very important to step out of our day-to-day work and think outside the box. That's what we're doing today.
Yes.
So we are talking about not just about ourselves, but about the community, and we are adding a value to the community. So people like us doesn't have to go through the same process that might have Aparna or some other people has to like they had to go through the different challenges. So I think that's true for everybody. Like who's part of this community, we are looking forward. We are asking them to come outside and contribute to this oil and gas community. And from outside, it looks really big, but it's very small little group.
Yeah, and as engineers, I know we tend to be in shell and not and just do your work, do technical stuff. You don't step out of it. But organizations have a lot of other ERG clubs like resource groups, employee resource groups, and Toastmasters Club. For example, I started my speaking journey when I was little, when I was 6. That was my public speech that I gave. This little girl on stage in front of 200 people. I still remember what speech I gave. So that's how
amazing. Yeah,
that's how my grandfather trained me for that. So that kind of orator skills that helps you to bring your ideas to a bigger group, right? So, and exploiting what is available in the organization, those kind of clubs and resource groups, that also gives you a reach and visibility to your leadership and what else you can do. So when they have a different assignment, they don't even have to think about it. Oh, this person can do, let me nominate this person. So I have been nominated like that by leaders many times. So that is one of the other key factors that has helped my career way to this position. So, and also grabbing that opportunity at the right time. I know not everyone's situation is the same, but if your situation, you think you can take an opportunity that is offered to you or that is available within your organization, try to grab it. So it is always a different thing to learn. And it is not like, oh, this is not falling under my job description, or this is not, there is a value to everything that we work on every day.
You talked about when you started your career, like you're also learning about what is available with the mechanical department, what is available on the electrical department, and I think I like that approach, because you're like a sponge. You're absorbing lots of information around you, and then that helps you to make your job better. And sometimes we ignore it. Like sometimes we say like, why do I need to know all these things? But you never know. Like especially when you grow in your career, in your leadership journey, then you have to make some decisions, and that knowledge will come very fruitful to make those informed decisions.
Definitely. And that networking, knowing the people who have the subject matter knowledge on that subject, so you can reach out if you have any questions, right? Making sure that so that definitely helps. I think engineers definitely have to come out of their shell and expand themselves to different arenas and exploit the opportunity that is available out there. That's a big thing to be successful in a career.
I'm going back a little bit more on your journey. How was your class? And what was the ratio of male or female in that class?
4 girls 15 boys. So chemical, mechanical, way back, that's how it was.
That's I was expecting.
Yes, 4 girls and 15 boys. And it was always like, oh, you chose chemical engineering? That's a male thing. And that time in 2000s and all that, it's always like IT was in boom. And
I don't
everyone,
know. Yes.
it's like everyone, it's like computer science, or everyone. Even the campus interviews that came, you would not see any EPC companies or anyone coming for campus interviews. It was always like all the big software companies.
Yes.
And it is sad that even chemical engineers and mechanical engineers, they chose to sit in that interview and they grabbed those jobs. And most of my college mates, they are still in the IT sector because that's the path they chose immediately after their schooling. So it's more about, IT dominating the
Yes.
time, and then people drifted towards.
Definitely.
Yep.
And so, how do you see now this industry about acceptability for female leaders?
So compared to the time I went to school, I'm so feeling bad that it's like 20 years already to say that, okay, I'm getting old. But now I'm sure the female population has increased in the industry. But
Mhm.
still, what I see when I go to volunteer in middle schools, even in the US, when you talk about STEM, kids that are raising their hands for STEM, it's very less number. So
Okay.
I asked these middle school girls on why you don't want to become an aeronautical engineer
Yes.
or a mechanical engineer. Oh, math is tough, science is tough. So people are having that mindset. Or some kids said, because my parents are oil and gas engineers, they lost their jobs because
Okay.
of the market volatility. That was
Yes.
a
Yes.
very alarming thing I
I
heard.
know. This
Okay,
one thing is about this industry is very cyclic.
yes,
Yes.
very
Every five,
cyclical.
10 years, we see rise and the fall.
Yeah.
Yes.
So both my parents didn't have jobs. So why would I choose that industry? If I'm into tech, at least I would get something. So that
Yes.
kind of impact this the next generation they are going through. And they're all born with iPad and tech and everything. So it's more like, hey, even no one uses to type and says Google Voice, play these rhymes, even the kids, right? So those kind of stuff, it's impacting them. So I'm seeing that there is a very less interest towards STEM, especially the T part, science, technology, engineering, and math. The T and mathematics and technology, it's always, it has become, the interest is going down.
Okay.
As an industry, we need to do something. As companies, we can come out and talk and volunteer ourselves for STEM program or JAP program, Junior Achievement Program, those kind of organizations. Society of Women Engineers, they are doing amazing job. I try to spend some time with them always, like in giving some talks or being in the panel explaining about why STEM is important. And we need engineers because you can see the generation gap in the industry, like mid and young generation compared to the previous generation of engineers. It's like a big ratio difference. So this cannot happen. We need to do something in the industry to steer that interest, and schools can make those subjects more interesting. Because the moment I spoke about calculus, all the middle and high school are like, oh, that's not my cup of tea. So that's the exact sentence they use.
I don't know how the mindset had set, like, and it's very, very interesting. I could see the same thing with my daughter. Like, she always says she's 8 year old, but she's like, oh, maths is tough.
Yeah, see already. So it's more about steering that interest towards them. That's a very high need of the hour in this industry for sure. And all big companies, I know we have a budget. We can spend some time volunteering for all this. We show them real time on what we do in the industry, right? Like
Yes.
take for a job site visit. That's very important. When we see, because my daughter is always proud whenever I wear a FRC and go to job site. And even she said during Halloween, Amma, can you wear this for Halloween? I was like, I don't look funny in this to
It's
be
my
a
word.
Halloween costume. Yeah, it's my word. So, but she's proud. She tells her friends, hey, mom, today my mom went to the job site and she has a hard hat. She doesn't use the word helmet. She uses the
Yeah.
word hard hat. So I feel proud on what kind of impact I have created in her.
That-
So these are some things I think the interest in STEM, that is the need of the hour.
I fully agree, and
Yeah.
and as we all know, this industry is getting matured, and there are lots of people who will be getting retired in next 5 to 10 years,
Right.
and I see there is a vacuum that need to be filled.
Yes.
So
And
for
our
that,
Mhm.
yes, well, for that we need to work on our future generation.
Yep. And our industry's landscape has changed compared to even 10 years back. Now, too much demand for various technologies that you need to learn, too much demand for skills you need to learn. So that is something I think the upcoming generation can, because they're born with iPad, as I said.
Yes,
So
definitely.
they can really come up with ideas, innovations. They are very smart brains. So
Yes.
that will help us in a long term. It's just that getting that interest in them.
No, like you made a good point. So in the
Yeah,
industry, as I said, is matured, but it has a lot to offer. So if somebody is
absolutely.
listening, these are exciting times. And when you think about oil and gas, it's not just about the drilling or fracking. It's much more than that. So if you're a software engineer, you still have a career in
Definitely.
this industry.
Oh, I'm still trying to explain to the society on what is the difference between a chemist and a chemical engineer. Forget about drilling and cracking. So that's a big thing, right? In schools, I always talk a chemist is different, chemical engineers are different. So how we differ and in what platform we combine, where
Yes.
we use chemistry, those kind of knowledge. I think that awareness from elementary stage, that's very important. Schools are trying to arrange all these volunteering things, bringing in people, and Engineers Week. They bring in engineers to talk to the kids. I think it definitely creates an impact. And as you said, software, for example, Aviva is the platform, right?
Yes,
All
you're right.
engineering industry uses. To
Mhm.
run that Aviva, to build all that program, definitely a tech person is needed. But
Definitely.
tech person, if that person has a knowledge of your actual engineering, see how much it can be helpful. So that's very important.
I fully agree. I
Yeah.
fully agree. And this kind of need of industry will continue for many years to come. And just talk a little bit about your passions and volunteership.
So, especially with all this generation not steering towards STEM, I always find that I need to do something to this society. I need to talk to these kids on what I exactly do on a day to
Mhm.
day job or how it impacts. I always ask them whenever I go to school, I talk, hey, have you ever gone to Leeds City or have you ever, your parents have driven through Texas City? So, what do you see? So, what fuel is used for your cars? And some kids said, we have a Tesla. I was like, okay, thank you. But that also needs engineering.
But there are many like there most of the people are still using gasoline based cars so, or vehicles.
So those things, that's why I started volunteering as much as I can do. There is a very wonderful organization called Girl Start.
Mhm.
They invite such volunteers to talk and do some experiments with elementary, middle school girls so that you can impart knowledge on STEM, on what they can become. What is the reason behind thinking about the power of why, doing
Yeah.
little experiments, what science is involved, those kind of stuff. But one thing I always get surprised is even today, this generation thinks that anyone in leadership, like C-suite, is always a man. That's
Yes.
a big bias that still is even in
Right.
a day-to-day life. So I asked in one of the schools, asking, "Hey, I'm going to give you a story. There is a CEO that takes a car, Uber from airport to a hotel, and the hotel receptionist is greeting the CEO hello with a kind word. So can you imagine these persons?" All the kids said the CEO is a white man, the Uber driver is a man, and the receptionist, hotel receptionist who talks kind, is a female. That was the picture that ran in their mind. I said,
Yes.
why can't it be a CEO, a female
Female.
CEO, and a female Uber driver, and a male receptionist?
Yes. In the real world, there are examples available like that.
Yes. So I think that the unconscious bias is still there because it's always like playing with Barbie versus Lego, right? It's
Yes.
girls' toys, boys' toys, those kind of
Yes.
unconscious bias still exist. And even in our industry, although we are doing good, we are getting better with the diverse workforce. But still, if you see the C suite, everyone looks the same,
Yes.
how
Yes.
they were looking 15 years back, right? So that way, the lack of diversity also leads to lack of decision
Ideas.
making, good decision making,
Yes.
good
And
ideas.
also ideas,
Yes,
like because you're getting ideas, similar ideas from
exactly.
all dimensions. So
Yep.
that's why diversity and inclusivity is very important.
Yes, definitely. So in my organization, I also take care of the external workshare partners that we work with. So they are based out of India, Brazil. So
Mhm.
when we work, it opens a different perspective to all the engineers that work on, oh, this is the work culture in that country. These are some talents that they can offer, how we can really enrich the business, how we can collaborate with them and offer a lot to the industry. That's very important. Being diverse, that is one thing I'm proud about my organization. All our employee resource groups, DEI, Women in Excellence, Inclusion, and this partnering with other
Mhm.
countries, they are on top of it. So they want to bring those diverse workforce to offer something to the industry. So that opens up a different skill set perspective. So that's
I
very
fully
important.
agree. I fully agree. Like we need to be open for new ideas.
Yes.
One thing, like we talk about your journey, but if you are given a chance to relive your journey, what changes you might make?
Hierarchy and patriarchy, that's a big thing, because when I started my career way back in 2004 in India, that was a big thing, because such a big populated country, there are like too many layers to even come up, right?
Yes, right.
So it's like by the time you climb to that layer, you are like already way past half of your career.
One thing you reminded me is to say your responsibility should match your age, and I'm totally against it. Young person like an young person can do the same thing what other person with 25 years experience can do, and vice versa. So that age bias, I think, still exists in the industry,
Definitely.
and we need to come over.
Because we always think if someone is a project lead, this person should be like 15 years experience. I
Yes,
understand that part, because you're talking about, okay, there are things that need to be managed which a early career engineer cannot do. But at the same time, if you pick the right early career engineers,
definitely.
like I have one person in my department who is like 2 years out of school. But if I give an assignment, he would lead it. So I always try to give him that opportunity to lead.
Also, you have to see hunger, like
Yes.
hunger in that person.
Yes.
So as you said, like yes, there are some checklists that you have to go through.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also have to think outside the box that we just talked about, correct?
Right.
And I think this responsibility and the age and the experience, we try to match everything to find a perfect candidate. But the point you're making, like even the person with the 2 years of experience can do that job if
Right.
we identify the right candidate.
Exactly. And these days, you know how the industry is so fast paced compared to 20 years back. There is an investor pressure to the client. Client has too many demands. Everyone is towards the green energy. Everyone wants to capture carbon. Everyone wants to go green. And
Yes.
and investors are putting pressure in your ESG, right? Your environmental, social, and governance. That's a very important thing, that investors are putting pressure on the client. Client is putting pressure on your EPC industry or the engineering contractor. So you can't like wait for all these layers to pass through to bring up a person. So if you find a right candidate, right fit, give that assignment, give that role to thrive in that thing, so that you get multiple, because early career engineers have a lot to offer that we do not know at this stage, right? That is one thing. The rotational assignment, if I had to relive, I think that is always, I think that is very important. I know in our industry, some people are SMEs, the subject matter experts. If they are doing one thing, they are the guru of it. They have to be doing that all the time.
Yes.
I think we need to come out of that perspective, which also leads to succession planning.
Mhm.
Because that is one thing we lack in our industry. If one person is gone, the skill sets are gone.
There's a
with that
vacuum.
person.
There's a
Yes.
vacuum. Yes.
So I think training, at least plan B, plan C, train other people in the industry in that area, and also giving them rotational assignment. Just because one person is doing one thing, they don't have to be all day. They are good at it, accepted, but you don't have to be doing the same thing. You can diversify and open up that opportunity to others. Succession planning is very important, and mentorship program. That is one thing I always think is very important if I had to relive. And these days, more than mentorship, sponsorship. That's very important. Because there is a big difference. Mentors guide you, set your career path, advise you on that. But sponsors are the one who have the power to talk to the upper leadership.
To make a difference.
To make a difference. So even when you're not in the room, if your name is taken, hey, this person needs to be given this opportunity because of so-and-so, that sponsorship is very important. I think organizations can think about how they can make their sponsorship program more robust in addition to their mentorship programs.
Definitely. And that brings us to our rapid fire round. Okay. So give me a minute. Let me find all the question, because that's a very interesting discussion that we are having today. But we have a limited time, and I think we won't able to cover your journey in that limited time we have. So that's why we have a rapid fire round, which will help to know you better. So are you ready for a rapid fire round, Aparna?
I think so.
Let's see how you do. So the first thing, what's your favorite part of working in the oil and gas industry?
The innovation that we do, the thinking every day we do when we put pen into the paper. Even when I see a drawing every time, it brings up a different idea, right? Why that valve is there, why that control is there. It's that thinking, why behind everything. I think that's an important
That excitement continues.
Yes, excitement continues, and the
even after 20 years.
various brains that work together, right? Immediately, You get into a technical fight literally instead of a technical argument. So that is very exciting. That keeps us going in this industry, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
One thing, describe your leadership style in one word.
I would say team building is the main strength of the leadership. Yeah, no micromanagement, setting up the expectation, very clear to the team, being very communicative. Even over communication is fine, but as long as you're clear in communicating what the needs are, then that is something I always rely on. It's always a good team together. And I'm always open to hearing ideas from my team. It's not like I'm saying something, you have to do something. No, not like that. It's always like a 360 degree.
Definitely. And also trusting their capabilities. What's the best advice you have ever received?
Best advice? Okay. People have told me not to say yes for everything.
Okay.
Because
that's a good one.
I always tend to say, hey, can you do this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. I sometimes tend to stay late and finish it off because I promised someone something. And I have heard many times from my own mentors saying, sometimes you say too much yes. And things are taken for granted. So don't do that. If it is going to cause a burnout or if it is going to cost your personal time, then just say no. Sometimes it's okay to say no.
I fully agree. And I always talk about this topic actually, saying yes. So some people like you, maybe when they say yes, they will put extra effort to complete that task. But I have seen other problem. People just say yes to everything and then nothing get executed. So it's better to say no or maybe asking for help.
Yes.
There is no harm. Like raise your hand. It's like, yes, I can do this work, but I need this support. That's a fair game. But when you say yes, it means you're going to execute that task and that's given to you.
But one thing I also learned to that yes and no is when you say no, always think about who else can have that opportunity.
Definitely. Come with the idea, definitely.
Yeah. So that person gets trained. You have done this many times. You don't have to be in limelight all the time and do it again.
Definitely.
Open that opportunity for your team. And then if someone can pick that, then it's a plus.
I fully agree. Fully agree. Now, what's one skill every engineer should master?
Communication.
Okay.
Clear communication. Just saying something is also communication, but whether it has been received by the recipient and whether the recipient acknowledged what they received, that is the clear communication. Just giving instructions do not work, right? The recipient has to be very clear on what the instruction was given. They have to acknowledge it. Okay, this is what I need to do. This is how, especially when we are in job sites with all the operating instructions we write, not just writing the instruction, how it is being executed by the operator, whether the person received it. So that is the clear communication. I think engineers are good sometimes in doing analytical things, but not too communicative. Some people do not like to talk in the meetings, right? So talking and communicating with a clear vision and perspective, that's very important for engineers.
Agreed. And last not the least, what's your go-to way to unwind after a long day?
Dancing. So I do Zumba dancing in the gym. Then I also started relearning Indian classical dance. So every week I very religiously attend a dance class. So that is something definitely I forget everything else and then focus on that. It just your endorphins get get pumped up and just forget work, forget things. You don't have to be all the time connected to work.
You need to disconnect from the work. Yes.
And that is one of the reasons I also volunteer during weekends and all that. I also volunteer at Fort Bend Juvenile Center, talking to the juvenile girls that are in detention. So it's that has changed my personal perspective so much, because when you come out of the door, you think how blessed your life is compared to the kids in the detention center. So both me and my husband, we have taken that up as one of our volunteering goals, one of our life goals for our life. Every week we go and volunteer. He volunteers boys and I volunteer juvenile girls. So that has changed life's perspective, I would say. And it's very important to give that back to the society. So that is also a good vent out for when you are just cribbing about something, just internet not connecting. But when you come out of that mentorship,
then you see the real life.
Yeah, exactly. This internet connection is not a big deal.
Yes, it's not a big deal. That gives you different perspective in your life.
Yep.
But one thing, our listeners might be wondering, where do you find all the time of doing your work?
Okay.
Your passion on dancing, anything you like to add here?
So you need to see the calendar that we have on the fridge. School girls, their classes, then husband's work, my work, and in the evening, how we balance them. So having that very cooperative life partner and the kids, I think that's very important. So, and then getting the calendar very perfect on if I'm committing to something, this is the time I can commit. I'm not going to overcommit because I also have to take care of the kids and play with them and go for
Definitely.
that non-stop birthday parties that they have every weekend. The
It is a
kids' birthday parties.
work-life
Yeah.
balance.
Yes. So it's like setting that clear balance, and then you don't have to really work and answer emails for work emails during the weekend. It's just your family time, your personal time. So set the calendar and just commit to whatever you can. Just see the time limits, how much you can commit, and how much you can get your mental rest, how much you can get time to read, right? So those kind of stuff, setting the time stamps, that's very important to be organized.
No, that's really great. Lot to learn from all these things because we all have 24 hours and we should know how to make best out of it.
Definitely.
One side we can just complain it, or as you said, like we can plan it better to achieve more in our personal and professional life.
Definitely.
So with that, we come to the end of today's show. But before we sign off, Aparna, we talked about a lot about your career, about this industry, the bias. But one key thing that you'd like to highlight before we sign off.
My one key takeaway for everyone in the industry is never say no to opportunities and always speak up. Speak up if it is something wrong, but you are not in that level to speak up, or you have you are in a very junior level in the organization or in the industry. Never fear. If you know that something is not right, something is not safe, speak up. It's okay to speak up, then let things go and create a problem later, right? Always speak up. Never hesitate to say no. As I also said, don't say yes too much. That's also not good. And always network. Keep the networking connections very intact. That professional networking, definitely it helps. It helps the industry and bring those diverse perspective in your mind to understand what everyone is coming from and where they are coming from, how you can offer your skill set, plus how we can take from other skill sets. So that's something I would
There
say.
are always an opportunity to learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with that, as I said, thank you very much for all your insight, Aparna. I think audience will really enjoy this conversation. Keep listening. Oil and Gas Breaking Bias Show. I will sign off for this week. Let's meet next week. With that, thank you so much. Have a good day. Take care.
Thank you so much, Anand.